Le'Veon Bell is a very good running back. Le'Veon Bell came out. Here we are 2 days from a playoff game. 25 years old. $12 million this year, highest paid running back in the league. They're going to franchise him next year. He'll be the highest paid guy in the league next year as well. Failed 2 drug tests, been suspended, hurt regularly. Now he's not happy 2 days before a playoff game with his money. 2 days before a playoff game, here's Le'Veon Bell. I'm not going to settle for anything. I know what I do, and I know what I bring to the table. Here's his quote, I'm not going to go out there getting the ball 400 times. If I'm not getting what I feel I'm valued at. I made a lot of money. I'm happy where I'm at. I've got a good family. I don't really need to play football. Yes, Le'Veon Bell is threatening to retire 2 days before a huge playoff game for Mike Tomlin, for Big Ben, for Le'Veon Bell, and for the Steelers. You don't want to lose to Jacksonville at home. First of all, there is a time to talk about everything. I think players have a right to confront bosses when it comes to money, but not 2 days before a playoff game. This has been my problem for the last several years with 2 teams in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks, who this year fell apart and now just had to fire everybody, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have the most explosive offensive stars in the league. Now they have another Juju Smith-Schuster, and in most eyes have underachieved. A source told me this morning that Matt Patricia is going to become the New York Giants' next coach. Is it because they know he's the best assistant coordinator out there? No. They're going to hire him because the New York Giants have Odell Beckham and Eli Apple and Landon Collins, and they talk a lot. And the Giants, my source tells me, want to hire a disciplinarian. So players talk less, coach does the talking. Can I ask a question? Find me a loose football culture. Dallas Cowboys, I'd call them loose. New York Giants, last 3 years, I'd call them loose. Seattle, Miami, Oakland, Cincinnati. That wins long term. Oh, Seattle did it for a couple. That window's closed. No salary cap space. Players revolting. Banging on their quarterback in ESPN articles. But if I said to you, give me a rigid, tough, system-first football program in America. New England, Alabama, Giants under Coughlin, Vikings under Mike Zimmer, Jim Harbaugh and the Niners. They win a lot of games. Show me where loose, player empowerment, outspoken, say what you want when you want, wins long-term in football. It underachieves all the time. It's man overboard all the time. It's dysfunctional all the time. It gets coaches fired all the time. Sometimes star-driven teams can get hot. Seattle did. Notice how quickly the window closes. See, the problem is with social media, the media loves player empowerment. Tell them what you think. You deserve more money. Let me write a column. This is outrageous. It never lasts. It always underachieves eventually. So here's Le'Veon Bell. This has been my primary concern with Mike Tomlin's culture. Facebook Live, I deserve more money. This guy calling out that guy. I know the media loves that, and you can pander to it, and you can apologize. But the 2 best football cultures in the world right now, Bama and New England, are not about player empowerment. They're about the system, the coach, and being respectful and focused before playoff games. Here go the Steelers again. 2 days out from a team that destroyed them, Jacksonville. Destroyed them, dismantled them, humiliated them. You're not talking about the offense. You're talking about your salary. Steelers, Pete Carroll, Seahawks. These 2 franchises, one just fell apart this year. If Pittsburgh loses, Jacksonville crushed them 14 of the last 16 times that a team beat an NFL team by over 20 points in the regular season and then played them again in the playoffs. 14 out of 16 times Jacksonville, that team that won big wins in the playoffs. If Pittsburgh loses, like the Seahawks, I think a fair criticism is the team is underachieved. Again. I've always been a huge fan of Big Ben, and they've got tremendous players. But, I go back to this, Doug, that I don't believe. Now, baseball, you were a basketball guy, and so it may be different. But football has always been my favorite sport. It's the one I played in high school. It's the one I followed. I have the most contacts, coaches, sources in football. And I've always had this theory that the loose culture with Pete Carroll, it worked 5 years in USC. Then it just fell apart. And it worked about 5 great years in Seattle. Now it's fallen apart. And Pittsburgh, with all these great players, has largely, over time with Tomlin, underachieved now at the end. Maybe overachieved early. But if you look at football, rigid wins. The Giants under Coughlin. The minute McAdoo came in, loose guy, disaster. They're bringing Matt Patricia in, who's an intense guy. Belichick, Saban, Mike Zimmer's a no-BS guy in Minnesota. Le'Veon Bell comes out 2 days before, and he's talking about his salary. Now, you were a college athlete, and you have a lot of sources in basketball. In football, there's data. Loose cultures don't work long-term. But in basketball, is that the same thing?
I think it depends on the makeup of the team and the leadership of the team. I mean, if you want to just the snapshot of the Pittsburgh Steelers is there's a confluence there, right? You have the Steelers culture, to which kind of like the Patriots culture traditionally, where they don't pay anybody, right? They always, when you want that second big contract, you usually either sign elsewhere or you're sent elsewhere. But then they have 2 of the best athletes in the league, right? Antonio Brown, best wide receiver in the league. Le'Veon Bell, best running back in the league. And so Antonio Brown gets paid. Le'Veon Bell wants to get paid. But that goes counter to what the Steelers have always done, how they've always been built.
Right.
So I think that's really kind of what's at work there. You have Steelers culture, and you have culture of the NFL and culture of superstars wanting to get paid in the NFL. And it's on a collision course combined with Ben Roethlisberger, who, look, he's always been quirky, but I think he finds himself put off by some of the me culture, some
young kids,
and some of the youth within this organization.
Yeah.
And then defensively, something they're built upon, which has always been the strength up front and of their linebacker without Ryan Shazier. Look, they are not what the picture of what the Steelers usually are.
They're almost, I could argue, Doug, the opposite of the Steelers brand. Outspoken, loose, and really weak defensively. They're the opposite of what you, mostly me, but kind of you 80s on grew up with. They were tough defensively, limited offense, mostly ran it, and it was a fortress. It was better than the Royal Palace. Nothing got out.
And, oh, yeah, by the way, they have probably the 2 worst matchups for their current roster that they could have in front of them, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars, the team was beating them in Pittsburgh with a quarterback that didn't even throw for 100 yards last time. Like, athletically, the Jaguars defense can match up and, frankly, can dominate the Pittsburgh Steelers and can stop the run. And then the Jaguars are going to shorten the game. They're just going to run the football. Yeah. And without Shazier, I'm not totally convinced that the Steelers will be able to stop the run. And then, of course, they take on the Patriots in New England, a team they've never beaten on the way to the Super Bowl with Mike Tomlin as coach. And so, yeah, look, does New England have issues from this point forward? Ownership and Belichick and Brady somewhere caught in the middle of that weird kind of love triangle? Sure. But I think they pale in comparison to all the stuff that's going on in Pittsburgh, which could come to a head this weekend or maybe comes to a head next weekend.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.